Hey guys, hope everything is going well. Today is a special time. Usually I don't do this on Saturdays. Usually we do this on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. But this is the time that I could get my buddies from north of the border on. We have here Coach Co and Cartel, Sports Card Cartel from IG. What's going on, guys?
How's it going? Happy to be here.
Yep.
Living the hobby life, Rahul. Living the hobby life.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Alrighty. So I know a lot of people on YouTube probably may not know who you two are. So just a brief introduction, Coach Co first. Who are you and what got you into this collecting hobby?
Yeah, so I'm Coach Co. I'm probably best known on TikTok, Coach Co Collectibles. I am also on Instagram, but that's the vast majority of my content. What got me into collecting? Much like everybody, well, I've been collecting something at some point my whole life, like I have various jersey collections. When I was a kid, I was collecting shoes and collecting Pokemon cards, Magic cards. I've also been collecting sports cards. I stopped collecting sports cards when I got into high school and stuff like that. I actually reached out to Cartel in my early 20s, so like probably 2013, because I was interested
I was in my early 50s at the time.
Yeah. I was interested in getting back or into hockey card collecting, like for real, instead of just buying like McDonald's and Tim Hortons packs. Ripped a box. I don't even remember what it was, but I absolutely skunked. So I ran away from the hobby until like 2020, where I decided to jump in with both feet and been at it every single day. I mean, almost all day. My favorite thing to collect is soccer, my favorite sport, and mainly PC soccer stickers, to be honest.
Okay, nice. Cartel, yeah. What about you? What got you into this hobby? And just more about yourself.
That's a big, profound question, what got me into this hobby, but I've collected my entire life. I can't remember I was not collecting, organizing, curating something. Sure. And for long I was getting it in, getting it out. And then occasionally getting someone like Brendan to come into an LCS and spend a huge amount of money so that I could watch them rip expensive product. But no, really, I my passion lies with cardboard, paper, comic books, posters. All that stuff has always appealed to me. It's a passion, it's a hobby, it's a business. I generally stray from social media. That's just how it's been for the past little while for me. I'm not on the TikTok. Brendan has gotten me on the YouTube, and a lot of people dragged me kicking and screaming to Instagram, which I'm actually enjoying quite a bit now as a source of information, and also as a place where I can help a lot of people distribute information, offer an opinion, and get feedback instantaneously. I love that. And anytime someone lets me know that I've helped them out, whether that's in terms of sharing information or having an opinion that they identify with, that to me is fantastic. And that's my main kind of modus operandi, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, on the social media. But right now it's UFC cards, hockey cards, comic books to a degree as a kind of a nostalgic thing, and just being aware of other collectibles as well. I would never, talk down about Pokemon or any of these other sectors that I'm not as familiar with. I want to learn about them, get to know people in those sectors, and get a taste of all the different collecting areas that we all know and love.
Sounds good. Yeah, we could take a deeper dive into some of the topics that you just talked about, like UFC cards and all of that. Especially you guys are from Canada, so we could talk a little bit about hockey as well, which is not my forte, by the way.
It's okay. There's a lot of people in the States.
yeah, for sure.
But I see those Gretzky cards on your feed. I see the interest.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm just looking at, okay, I mean, this is just more of a speculative bet. I'm just thinking, okay, even if you're in a downturn right now in the US economy, cards have taken a dip. Where else could I put my money? I
Yeah.
mean, just Peachy Gretzky cards, no one wants them. Even in Canada, no one wants to buy them. And people aren't chasing the high end cards. So where do I go? And it's not that much money. So that's why I'm just buying a lot of OPC cards, because it's silent. And, if you get a big push, whenever that is, that's what I did in 2018, 2019, buy when it's quiet, all these cards, and they just popped a lot more than what I expected. So
A lot of people forget, although you could probably point to, as unfortunate as it is, Vegas Dave kicking off a lot of the tidal wave that we saw over the past couple of years because of the trout sale. A lot of people forget it was, I believe, it's Patrick Bet David, who's now a very well-known podcaster. He does other stuff too, but he's a podcaster.
It's value entertainment, I think.
Value entertainment, and it was his purchases of. Help me out, Brendan. It was a PSA 10 O-Pee-Chee and what, PSA 10 Tops?
I think, it was a PSA 10, both Gretzky's, yeah.
And it was a monumental flip. And that was a big story early on in the pandemic market, so to speak. So a lot of people forget Gretzky cards kind of set this off in a lot of ways, and people are coming back to it and realizing, look, it's a smart play any which way you look at it. Gretzky, it's the greatest hockey player of all time.
yes. Speaking of Vegas Dave, he actually commented on one of my videos. He called me a sheep because I just talked about Gary Vee in a video. So I'm like, wow, the GOAT in quotes watches my videos.
Yeah, he was very adamant. He was very adamant that it was him that kicked it off and not Gary Vee.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I wasn't even talking about who ignited the bull market in sports cards, but yeah.
He's literally just showing up to say, hey, don't forget me, kind of thing.
Yeah, don't forget me.
That's literally what he did.
I came
we remember
out,
him.
Yeah.
I don't know if we remember him for reasons, but we'll always remember him.
Yeah, he just came out of retirement. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, he was gone for like a while, man. He was gone for like 3 months or something.
Yeah, he was gone for a while, and then the market was crashing, and then he says, oh, it's going to tank even more, and then like all these assets started to pop right back up. I just found that interesting, but I wonder if he'll continue.
But he's
if you look at it on a more macro scale in terms of popping up, we have plenty of people we can talk about who I was going to
every
get
couple
into
of
that,
decades
pop up,
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, popping up, I actually got this from a tip from one of my followers. He watches my videos. I try to follow his content. And he shared with me, hey, what do you think about this Don Diego situation? And then I took a look into it on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, because the Instagram post said that, okay, it's a bunch of males harassing her. I'm thinking, why are a bunch of males harassing her? It just seemed really strange. I hope, no one is really, threatening her, as I think the message alluded to. But then I saw this accusation of shill bidding. So I could start with you, Coach Co. What are your thoughts about this? And then I'll go to Cartel about what he thinks.
Yeah. So the video in question, and I don't know if you're going to link it below or if people are going to search it up, but the video shows that they, but being Don Diego and Pokemon Radar, I believe, or Poke Radar. I don't know if it's which one it is.
I apologize. I don't want to interrupt you, but of the three of us, am I correct in saying you probably were familiar with her, right? Because of the Pokemon content?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I followed her. And so I saw her post before I saw the video, And I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of women in the hobby be mistreated by men, whether it be like downgrading their opinion or, go stick to I get ridiculous comments. So I can only imagine, and I've seen what women get in the hobby, and it's unfortunate. This situation was ignited by the suspected shill bidding. The video, it looks it looks damning, you know, like I didn't watch the 5 hours of this video, but the clip that they pulled looks damning. You know, she says, "Oh, I didn't want to win," or wasn't it was what was the actual quote that came out of her mouth? It was like, "Oh, I can't
Our,
believe I won that," or
no,
Or I accidentally bid on it or something.
no, but guys went, are we with question mark? And then it was, I accidentally bid.
yeah, yeah. So what I find interesting about that, so do I think that she was intentionally shill bidding? It's tough, man. It's really tough. What I find interesting though is that Raul touched upon this like 2 weeks before, 3 weeks maybe. The line 21 in Heritage Auctions terms and conditions states that anyone who has stuff in the auction can in fact bid on their own items. So technically speaking, if it was a shill bid, it was perfectly legal. So I'm saying I don't know if this was, I mean, by the video, it looks like a shill bid. That's what I'm saying. By that specific piece of content, it looks like a shill bid. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was an accident. I don't know if she was. I don't know. I've seen videos of people say that she was ranking her favorite potato chips or something and like accidentally clicked the button. I have no idea what happened. But what I do know is that I find it very interesting, plain and simple. I find it very interesting that we're seeing the terms and conditions from Heritage kind of like masking this whole situation. And realistically speaking, I don't think Heritage has to say anything about this situation, which I find particularly, I don't know, kind of eerie, you know, like that something like this is brought to light or commented on and no one needs to say anything about it.
Yeah, and before Cartel goes on, line 21, it states from Heritage, I'm on their website, or I just got their PDF. The auctioneer, its affiliates, or their employees consign items to be sold in the auction and may bid on those lots or any other lots. And how I got to this through my research is actually you, Cartel. We were having an off the line conversation when Coach Co brought me in on the podcast. And we're just talking 10 minutes and you said, hey, I heard something about Heritage, right? So then I'm like, okay, how can I corroborate this? And then I saw this line item in Heritage. So, you know, that's what I observed. So what are your thoughts about all of this?
So, gentlemen, a lot of diplomacy and a lot of niceties going on everywhere, left and right, all over Instagram and here. The interesting part about this is that this wraps up very nicely what your story arc has been lately, your season story arc, Rahul, which is about the auction houses and their policies and the fact that people have not, that they don't have this knowledge of the policies and or they've not been paying attention, and now a very bright light is being shined on it. So first and foremost, Ryan collection. This is a gentleman that I think more than a few of us have a lot of respect for. I made it a point to get into his live about this conversation. You can get into a lot of deep philosophical conversations if you want to about this situation. But I would say why. This was pretty blatant. If you frame it in terms of the fact that there are these policies that not a lot of people are aware of, nothing technically wrong or illegal was done. What you heard was, look, idea behind the elections live, which can be the point, great, because the way he formatted it and went through things. But are people like, would someone do something so stupid as to reveal the game? I think you can never underestimate what a human is capable of when they're not paying attention, when is a lot of stimulus going on. But she basically let slip. And I just want to say, and I'm going to go on a bit here, guys, I apologize, but I don't.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, Cartel, but I think you're breaking up a little here and there.
Maybe hold the mic.
Oh,
now I can't hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now. No. No, I can't hear you, brother. Yeah, okay. Okay, but hold on a sec. No, I can't hear you still. You can't hear him, coach, right?
No.
No. So we'll nah, I still can't, man. Nah. No, I can't hear you. Okay, let me go to Coach Co for a minute. I think Cartel's gonna step off for a side.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have anything else to say regarding this? I know we're gonna get Cartel back on.
Yeah. I mean, much to what he was saying, like the video, it makes it look pretty blatant that like it was a shill bit, right? Like I mentioned previously as well, the fact that there was 5 hours of like it was a live recording. I think it happened around like the third hour. You lose all like composure if you're recording for 3 hours, you know? So like things
Yeah.
that you maybe might not have let slip would slip. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe even a casual conversation that might have happened off camera, or maybe might not have been brought up on a live stream. Like that could easily come out, especially when you're so deep into a live. So I mean, much to what he was saying, like, would someone do that? Would someone reveal the cards on purpose? I don't think anyone would advertise that they're you know increasing their own bids. But like I said, I just think it's a really interesting conversation where it's definitely a hobby foul for sure. I mean, like no one should be bidding up their own stuff or their partner's stuff or their friend's stuff or but you know, from a legal perspective, it was perfectly legal. So strange.
Still can't hear you, buddy.
She was so pissed that she thought she won the auction, didn't get another bidder on top.
No. Still can't hear you. All right. As
how do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? It's
Yeah.
Cartel just stepped out for a bit.
Yeah.
I'll bring him on, once his audio gets fixed. But what I think about it was, I mean, go back to Heritage's line 21, right?
Yeah.
The auctioneer, it's affiliate, so it looks like she's an affiliate. She could bid on, or her partner could bid on the lot, whatever actually happened, right? If it's actually true that there's shill bidding going on. So perfectly legal. So I don't think she could get sued for it. But just from an ethical perspective, I wouldn't have done it. And on top of it, what I would have done if I were in that situation, I would have, to prevent damage control from happening, I would have said that, hey, to make sure that just to protect my image, I'd go back to Heritage saying, hey, look, I want this sale canceled because it looks, all of us look bad, right? Regardless of shill bidding or not.
Yeah.
And then go from there and just make an announcement. And then I'm sure that Heritage would probably work something out.
Well, I mean, especially because it was like Pokemon Radar's card, right? So like, it's not like the person auctioning the card off would have an issue with it being canceled,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an interesting point, actually. That would definitely minimize damage, right? Like, just kind of owning it, regardless of it was a mistake or just like kind of talking about that first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right. For sure. All righty. I wanted to get into. I was going to get into the Curator guy, but I wanted to see what Cartel has to say. He has more experience with him than you do.
although I'm pretty sure he did bash the Chicago show last
No,
week.
did he? I don't know about that.
I don't know about bash, but he said it like it fucking sucked. And,
he said that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Maybe we could get some.
Which would mean that's like if he went from Toronto to there, he's probably gonna be pretty pissed off, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You destroyed the Toronto show. And I was like, I don't. You gotta do your research before you come to a show, man. Like it's mainly hockey. It's
Yeah, and
people aren't really buying high-priced PMGs at Toronto Sports
yeah,
Card Expo.
yeah.
Like,
Just speaking of that, so you were at the Toronto Expo,
yeah, oh yeah,
and this obviously when you are in Toronto, you know, I've been to Toronto. They're pretty crazy about hockey, right?
yeah,
And I buy Gretzky cards, but I understand the culture. Like each place is different. If you go to London and they have a show, it'd probably be soccer based, in my
yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
In America, it would be football, it would be baseball, and then basketball.
yeah.
That's my assumption. Asia would be basketball. So each culture, you know, each place has, you know, type of card. So what happened with, you know, Curator over there?
Well, I saw his booth a few times. I'm gonna be honest, they did put him in a terrible spot. So he was like in like a section that was like off to the side almost. So like there was like a main area and then there was like a bathrooms and he was very close to that.
Yeah.
Um, but that being said, and also there was an issue with I think he rented a case that he didn't end up getting or got late or whatever the case may be. But that being said, I don't agree with like a lot of the things that he said about the show. He said that people weren't willing to spend money. I mean, if we go to his like recent Chicago show, I mean, apparently people still aren't willing to spend money. So I don't know how much of that has to do with the you trying to sell high value cards, very high value niche cards in a down market. Do you know what I mean? And then blaming the surroundings or blaming the people for not negotiating. He also said that you know people would look at the sticker price and not negotiate. Uh, Generally speaking, uh, there's a lot of times where people that shows that I've gone to locally that if the sticker price is too high, you move on to another table because you kind of know what that person's pricing is like. Do you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, this person is pricing at 100% comps or above comps,
Yeah.
or if you walk by, if you're at a car dealership and you see a car's $30,000 and you're not willing to spend $30,000 on a car, you don't say, hey, what could you do on this? At least not here. You just move on to a car that you are willing to spend money on, because it just doesn't make much sense to the offer on things that you're just like, this is out of my price range. So I think a lot of the things that he might have brought were either out of people's price ranges or just not really desirable here, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, he said he didn't have a good show and that people here are not very good at negotiating and that no one wanted to trade and all this slanderous stuff. But everyone I speak to who is from here and knows the market or came here and knows the market and understands where we're at in terms of the economy and went in with, I mean, not say no expectations, but went in with an open mind. um, uh, Add into that like the knowledge of, like I said, coming here. I think they did well. I had a great show. I know Cartel had a great show. A lot of the dealers I spoke to had one of the best shows they've had in a very long time. So I just found that whole conversation very interesting, actually.
So Cartel, what are your thoughts on the guy?
Can you hear me, guys?
It's better.
All right. So I'm like a corked genie bottle right now. So I apologize. I'm going to just rewind a little bit here and just finalize my thoughts on Don Diego. This is an individual I'd never heard of. The first I'd heard of this was the response itself via the feed of someone I have a lot of respect for, who admits he jumped the gun in terms of his assessment of solely pointing out this event as an issue of bullying. Okay. At the end of the day, what do you think? Who do you think is involved when there's a hockey collector? I'm sure that you also follow, who he makes no bones about it. He's very aggressive about pursuing his cards, he puts in big proxy bids. And unfortunately, because you have to be smart about how you're laying down your bids, it's like poker. There's a whole complete like strategy involved. If you're just going to put in a big proxy bid, you are opening yourself up to the most obvious form of shill bidding. You're going to watch your bid get pumped up by zero bidding accounts. So what's going on when you see that on PropSteam? What was going on when you saw that on PWCC on eBay? What do you think they're doing? You see the leaked emails, discussions with the consigners themselves, the consignees being told to toss in a bid on their items. What do you think is going on? So basically, we just saw the curtain get pulled back a little bit. If the only argument is, oh, who would be so stupid as to do that? Like I was trying to say before I broke up, there's a lot going on. Maybe you know, in the heat of the moment with hundreds of viewers, I don't know how many viewers they get. You're in the room, there's a lot going on, and the next thing you know, you let slip, oh man, did we win that? I hope we didn't win that. Did you see the panic on her face? You know, it was a case of having to go and find the YouTube video via other people's feeds to find out what was really going on. But I'll tell you this, when I read the quote unquote response from Don Diego, who I'm sure is a wonderful person, I know nothing about this person, okay? They collect Pokemon, great. Like I said when we started this conversation, I respect all sectors of collecting. But just the language she was using, the aggressiveness, and I get it. She may very well have been badly harassed. That may very well be the case. We've all gotten a taste of it. Maybe not to the degree that a woman in the hobby would, 100%. Yeah. Like Brendan mentioned, I've seen it. I've seen friends of mine in various areas of collectibles put to different standards, put in unfair situations, criticized unfairly. I've seen it. It exists. But this extreme language she was using, she chose to use the term incel several times. Coach Co and I live in a city that has been affected by a real life actual incel who ran over several women, killed them. This guy's going to be rotting in jail. I hope he rots in jail for the rest of his life for what he did. These are murderous, horrible people. I mean, that is as extreme of a gender-based insult that you can use. Was her life threatened? Possibly. I have absolutely no right to ask or to try to, to try to dig deeper. Yeah. But I'm sorry, any human being, man or woman, has to stop and think about these things that I'm thinking about, right? We can think thoughts based on what we read. And something just really kind of, what I immediately wanted to do was find out more information. I know that we jump to conclusions and we jump to the defense of the hobby a lot of times in the most positive way because you want to protect people. I don't know if you guys touched on it while I was away there, but there's something going on right now with Tyler Hitt with HGA. And you want to talk about not jumping the gun and being reasonable. We all have to do that in a situation where someone is just simply being accused of something and we don't have any evidence. I've not been presented any evidence. You hear the accusation and it's devastating and it evokes feelings and emotions. And that's what Don Diego was doing. She was stirring up emotions because not only to protect the hobby, but if you're a good guy, you should have the feeling like you want to protect your sisters, you want to protect your brothers, but in particular, you want to protect people that might be less seen in the hobby and more vulnerable in the hobby. Let's protect them. But upon seeing the video footage, I don't know how many of these deep philosophical conversations I want to have. I want to say that no one should be harassed or threatened, but we have to like step back, look at the whole thing, look at what was done. Without knowing about these policies, it's just straight up shill bidding. There's no conversation here. It's an attempt to pump up more money. That hurts someone in the grand scheme of things. It does, right? What is shill bidding? That shill bidding is pumping up a price for a goal, right? Because just today, I placed a bid on an item that I want to watch. It's at around $121. It's probably going to finish around $1,000. Did I shill bid by bidding on that? I'll tell you what, if it ended tomorrow, I'd pay.
Yeah.
But I wanted it on my watch list. You can watch or you can bid. So I bid on it. Now, if I went and placed a little tiny bid on every single auction featuring a card that I've invested in. That's a little nefarious. Just to pump it a little bit, that's a little nefarious, right? That's legitimate shill bidding.
Yeah.
So we have to see the difference here. And there's context, right? This was a really expensive Pokemon card. I don't know, Brendan, if you
$1,600, I think.
But apparently it was worth much more.
No, there's another one. There was another one, I think, but I don't think the one that she almost won was. I think the one that she almost won was 1,600. There was another one that they were watching that was like 35K, I think.
This is big money, man. And you know, everyone wants to maximize their investment, and sometimes they don't care who they step on. So there is a very dark undercurrent to this that apparently not a lot of people want to discuss. They just want to say, there's a lot of different situations and don't bully anyone. Okay, but that's really oversimplifying things. It's not the first time we've seen it. It is a problem in the hobby. I have absolutely nothing to say in terms of resolving it. I don't know how to resolve this. I don't have the answers, guys. I'm just aware, and I like the fact that more people will be aware as a result of this.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you're dealing with a bunch of guys, an unregulated market, I just think the way to do it is calling them out. And then now, her Instagram post said that, these guys harassing her are a bunch of incels and, racists and all that stuff. And then, or I mean, like, it's just some of that language was used in her post. So then, people are like, hey, some people may like back off, when you see a post like that, because obviously you don't want to see anyone threatened. But then at the same time, are they hiding behind that? Because we've seen that in our society all the time. So it's like, is it legitimate or is it not legitimate? And that's like the gray line. And that's what people in the industry don't want to touch for obvious reason, because women are harassed in this hobby. But then at the same time, are they using it as a shield so they don't get criticized?
The hobby is the sports card hobby has been and continues to be in many ways and in many sectors and in many dark corners a dirty locker room full of, and I'm going to use P. Ryan's language from his live because it was so amusing, a bunch of dildos, a bunch of dudes that have very little understanding of social interaction, especially when it comes to women. So again, you don't have to push me too much to convince me that there was some really bad harassment involved. There may have been, but the question becomes, what about, like, I'm a person that has been in DM conversations with a variety of people that I'm at odds with, and we've had really good, calm, civil conversations. How many people attempted a calm, civil conversation and were treated to being called a name? I mean, isn't that also in itself a form of bullying? It's like, don't question me, because if you do, like Rahul mentioned, and look, and at the end of the day, we don't know how much.
I was gonna say, I just don't think there was a lot of. I can't imagine there was a lot of formal people being like, hey, like, I saw this happen. I just want to get your idea.
But why not? I mean, at the end of the day, like,
I mean, I see. I'm in the hobby. I'm in the hobby every day, right? Like, people are like, I see like scammer, this person's scammer, and then all of a sudden they're reposted by like 200 people, and like no one like stops to say, hey, like, can I get more information? You get like one screenshot, and again, like, I'm not defending anyone, right? I'm just saying that like virality in this hobby is like it spreads like wildfire. You know what I mean? And so I just don't know how many people stop to think about why some prices of cards are the way that they are. They just buy with the herd, right? It's very much a herd mentality in this hobby, right? It's the salmon swimming upstream, and like, you want to make sure that you're one of those salmon swimming upstream. There's a very small amount of people, I think, that actually stop, think, question. I mean, there's a reason why all three of us are on this thing in the first place, right? Because I think we're able to kind of like drop back and start dialogue. But I just don't think that most people do that. I think most people react.
Yeah. I know Cartel. Sorry to interrupt, Cartel.
Yeah.
But I know that you have odds with Goldberg, and I went on a podcast with Goldberg just as, just having a conversation. So, I mean, I know some people may not like him or may not like me, but at the end of the day, the only way that, you're going to discuss ideas is through dialogue,
Yeah.
regardless of, even if you hate someone's guts or hate what
Well,
they're doing or hate, who they're associated with.
It's a two-way street, right? And with regards to Andrew Goldberg, I don't have any personal issues with him. I wouldn't say I dislike him. I would love to get into a discussion with him. I've tried it through messages on some of the feeds that we all know and love. He tends to disregard. That's fine. Listen, that's a tactic. The great curator prefers to tell people to literally shut up, and I've experienced that from him. So that's why I say it's a two-way street.
Screenshots, correct?
Yeah, he's got a screenshot.
If you're gonna show up and present something, and then someone's going to calmly, criticize it, you're not going to tell them to shut up. If you are, then you're creating a reputation for yourself that way, right? Andrew Goldberg is like a lot of other guys I don't want to mention because I don't want to start anything here. There's someone prominent in our hockey hobby who decided to block me. I think it's ridiculous. I think he misunderstood something that I didn't even say anything. I think I put a picture of his podcast's logo amongst a group of people that were hyping V-Friends. The guy blocked me. I wish I would have had a discussion with him. I wish people could stay calm on that end. Two-way street. I got to stay calm. We got to stay calm. They got to stay calm. Andrew Goldberg is part of a group of people that, give all sorts of people platforms. I loved the fact that they had you on. That was great. I talked to you about that, Rahul. But generally speaking, their timing is of the sort to help out individuals and companies that are involved in some rather unsavory stuff because of the fact that they're sponsored. They got to make their money. I'm not going to hate on that. That's fine. They got to make their money. But that's a big thing that we all have to remember is, when you get to the level, I'm making an assumption that you get to the level of Don Diego in terms of a following and the realm that they're in. I'm not in the 5-figure realm, guys. When it comes to hobbies. I'm not there yet. But that is a realm where now you start talking about sponsorship. You start talking about representing and being affiliated with companies and individuals, and a lot of them are unsavory in our hobby. Unfortunately, we've seen it. That's why card porn exists. However you feel about card porn, because I got new feelings about card porn at this point. But however you feel about these feeds, they exist because we always have drama. We always have something going on. We have a savior in Lamine James who makes light of it. Makes us laugh at it. This just gets so ridiculous. And then we have people that are just aware and sharing the information. So we've got someone here who Rocco is mentioning. Yeah, you can absolutely look at it that way. I think everyone's kind of oversimplifying a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can very quickly redirect something when there's an accusation thrown at you, and even when there's video evidence. But the biggest one that Brendan mentioned, the biggest one that Rahul's been talking about for weeks, is the policies of these auction houses that people didn't know about. Guess what? The curtain is pulled back. That's the way it gets done. That's what goes on behind the scenes. And with Heritage, maybe there's even more that goes on behind the scenes. That I leave it to Rahul and his investigative journalism to look at.
I got the tip from you. Then, and I think I was talking about it as you got cut off, but thanks to you said, hey, I heard something at Heritage, and I'm like, I gotta corroborate this before I go public with this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give credit to you for tipping me off.
And then you went on to find out that this was not unique to Heritage.
No, it's 3 other auction houses out there.
Right.
Besides Heritage.
I didn't even stop and immediately think of that, but it's a no-brainer. Of course it is, right? And these are monumental. These are big companies. They're important. They're at all the shows. They were at the Expo, Brendan. They provide an important service. They are like stalwarts of the hobby, and we're just learning more about them.
Especially if we're talking about like comps, which is like basically the backbone realistically of the hobby, right? Like comps are, you know, everyone talks about comps. This is how we find out what's valuable, what's not. I mean, everything has value, but you know what I mean? Like what's hot, what's not. A new comp on a card could completely change the market of that card. A lot of these auction houses are at the forefront of these new comps, right? And we've talked about this before. If those comps aren't rock solid, I mean, what does that do for a lot of markets? Because like even the low end, the mid end, everything has to do with those high comps, right? It has to do with like the top end comps, and then it kind of trickles down.
And then when you see record sales on, you know, these platforms or these apps, and then people are like, oh, look, record sales, you're being negative if you're pointing any light to this. And I don't know. I mean, I need more volume on a sale to just say like, oh yeah, this card sells at what, $10,000 or $1,000 or 5,000, whatever the price range is. Just seeing one sale like that, you know, is there hanky panky going on, or is this actually legit?
Well, talking about the back to the curator, like, right? So
yeah,
I
sorry
mean,
to interrupt you guys. I know a Cartel. If you could speak a little louder, something with your mic. I know. Just
I'll do
one
my
thing.
best here.
Okay.
But so like if we talk about, I mean, let's say, I don't know, a PMG Marvel card sells for like a specific character. I don't know, Doctor Strange sells for $60,000, and then you bring that to a show, and there's no high, there's not no one that really desires it. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting. It's just all that is very interesting, right? And because, well, if something's worth 60,000, even if people can't afford it, I think they'd still be super interested in it. Do you know what I mean? Like if I see a very desirable hockey card that I can't afford, I'm still going to want to look at it. I'm going to want to touch it. I'm going to want all these things. There's going to be a lot of interaction with that card from the general public, right? And from what it sounds like, there wasn't a ton of interaction with this stuff. So, you know, it's just tough.
Yeah. And how about when we get into the realities of the really rare, unique one of one items and these evaluations that we see now? What do you guys suppose unless it's already finished? I think it's tonight. What is that logo man going to finish at?
Tonight.
Do you have a feeling it's going to be around the evaluation that they gave it?
It's at 2.1 right now. So, I mean,
okay. So, I mean, where did that $6 million evaluation come from?
It was because the Honus Wagner is like 6. And so they were like, it's going to be more than the Honus Wagner.
So LeBron James is on the same wavelength as Honus Wagner? Is that what it is?
According to who? According to an industry leader that's been here for decades, that has his own history. And that, like, here's the thing. At this point, it doesn't really matter how you feel about Goldman.
No.
You know about Goldman.
No.
He's the guy. He's the guy. He's on CNN. He's on MS, whatever channels he's on.
Fox Business. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and he's charming.
Times Square, bro. Times Square.
Yeah, Times Square. I just saw that on IG.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's a whole group of people that will tell you that's great. That's great for the hobby. Okay, that is. I mean, but then you see how this is like kind of a circle where we get. Did you manage? Someone mentioned something about the president of Heritage Auctions there, and I just didn't see what they wrote.
Yeah, I could go back to it. It said in an interview, the president of Heritage Auction said that he and his employees of Heritage do bid in their auctions, and he has won items that he felt were undervalued.
Well, the president of Heritage Auctions has one of the most incredible collections of collectibles that you can conceive of. It's flabbergasting. You can go on the internet, and I believe you can sort through this man's collection. It's unbelievable. But anyways, regardless, you know, I've kind of lost my train of thought here, but we are just kind of in a situation and in an era where these are representatives that produces a lot of great stuff for the hobby at large, but it kind of, there's this feedback loop, right? So getting back to great curator, what's his shtick, particularly on Instagram? His shtick on Instagram is don't be negative, right? What are you guys doing? Don't be negative. Hey, we caught Cartel, you know, beating up baby seals for their fur. guys, don't be negative. I mean, that's what seems to be happening, right? On the day that he posted that YouTube video being very unfair to the Toronto Expo, that's our national. That's what we wait for all year long. That was a fantastic time. I had something stolen from me, very significant, and I still had a great time.
Yeah.
And I had great, and I had great camaraderie, and sales were great. Brendan and I know a few high volume sellers who had their best show ever. So if you're not going to do the basic amount of research before you come to another country, indulge in another culture of collecting, that's your own issue. But on the same day he posts that YouTube video to talk about not being negative, and then to respond to feedback with shut up as his level of discourse, shameful, ridiculous. No, you're not a hobby leader. You're not a hobby representative. Get out of here. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You should apologize. You should be humble. You should be humbled by this whole situation, the people that now criticize you, because you try to come off as like this nice guy. Oh, I'm this nice guy. I got into collecting. I just love to collect Marvel cards. You should apologize. But that's what we see from a lot of people now is don't be negative. We saw another guy, speaking of Andrew Goldberg, we saw one of his buddies come out there and it's hard not to take it as condescension when I'm being told, hey, be nice to the kids and throw in free things. Are you kidding me? The cartel's been throwing in free things for decades. Okay, for not being asked for it, not talking about it, not putting up a story. I don't put up a story every time I put something for free in a package for someone. Okay, but there's a purpose to these guys saying, focus on the good stuff, guys. Focus on the good stuff, guys. Didn't I see you opening some V friends and pushing that? Didn't I see you double down on that? And you can sit here, you can tell me, okay, it's great. There was no nefarious thing going on there. People enjoy their V friends. Let them enjoy it. That's great. But there's a deeper story there. And there's something very disingenuous going on there. And I wish, and it's, no one is like banished, like just be open about it. Be straightforward when you need to be straightforward. Talk about your sponsors and why you're doing something. If you really believe in VFriends, if there is a human being out there who believes in VFriends, like the way people believed in Pokemon years ago, and who got paid off because of their brilliance and their foresight, then talk to me about it. Post a video where you talk about, are you guys aware of a video that exists on YouTube where someone's passionately explaining why VFriends is going to be the greatest thing ever?
Gary V. Everything Gary V makes.
Right.
No, but wasn't Card Collector 2 like basically bashing people that were saying, oh, I think he was saying that this is better than Garbage Pail cards or whatever, Garbage Pail Kids. I don't know.
I didn't see it.
Huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. So I know he is a big fan of Gary V, but when I saw stuff like that, I'm like, and then what pissed me off about VFriends was the secondary market sales. And we talked about it in your podcast. And
that's
I thought like
everything we've been talking about were those fake sales. That's everything we've been discussing.
Yeah, like those cars that were definitely shill bid, and then that was ignored or you were mocked. People, came at me, from left field. And I'm like, okay. And then I doubled down on it.
Does anyone know what the NFTs are at right now? Like, does anyone know, like, if VFriends as a whole, the NFTs are also down?
I've always heard that those were okay, that they were doing all right value.
Yeah, but crypto in general is taking a beating, right? So, I mean, naturally, like, NFTs would probably take a hit unless it truly is like a legacy project, right? Like, and people believe that it's a legacy project. I think that would be interesting. I think seeing, price correlation specifically over the last, let's say 4 months with VFriends NFTs. Because if the NFTs can't hold, let me tell you something, those cards they don't have any special features on those cards, like they're literally NFTs. So
I think it's offensive to the legacy of something so smart and witty and unbelievably creative as Garbage Pail Kids, which is a very nostalgic brand, particularly in my age group. When you, as a kid, you appreciate them because they're so out there. The art was amazing. You can't even compare the effort and creativity that was put out by Topps and the creators of Garbage Pail Kids.
VFriends is tanked.
Project. You just can't compare. And then Pokemon is this entire world of characters and interactions. Come on, it almost seems like some kind of inside joke that is directed at the public at large. It seems that way. I'm just going to put it out there. And at the risk of insulting a man's dream, I apologize if that's the case. But we're talking about some really monumental creative brands when we talk about Garbage Pail Kids. So either people are not educated or they're not familiar with really cool stuff. You just got to go back a few decades. It's there. But don't forget, who else was involved in pumping up the prices and letting people know about the prices? I'll tell you who was involved in discovering this. Rahul, Rocky Mountain Baseball Cards was one of the earliest on top of this. The Backyard Breakers were advertising the sales, presumably because they were breaking it. I don't know. I don't really follow their feed, but to see whatever it was, Willie the Wolverine, I don't know, selling for $8,000, and then within a couple of weeks selling for $300. Like, who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? And who are you trying to hurt? Who are you trying to hurt with that? Because people do get hurt.
Well, even MetaZoo, like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, the hype about MetaZoo. Everyone was buying these, like, Mothman, and again, the thing was like, these are the next Pokemon cards. Everything is the next this. Do you know what I mean? And I find that if you have to justify something by saying it's the next, and then you compare it to something that has such great legacy, it's most definitely, or you know what, almost definitely shilbit of some kind. Someone's pushing this thing like up exponentially. There's a lot. Same thing with players. People are like the next Trout, the next Michael Jordan, the next blah 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 blah, next LeBron. Sometimes those people don't exist. And stop comparing like the greatest all time in like a sector of comics, in a sector of I don't even know what you call Pokemon, but I guess it's like an action adventure. You know what I mean? Like, stop comparing these legacies to something that was built this year. Like it just stop doing that, please, because it's ridiculous. Not every new thing is going to have the legs that had before. I mean, we have so much consumable content right now. Before, we were very limited on, in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. There wasn't a ton of content. You watched your content on TV or on movies, VHS tapes, listen to it on the radio. Now you can go to so many different streams. How do you think that anything being built today is going to have a legacy like that?
Yeah, that's a great point, and I just wanted to touch on a couple of comments, Mervin. So that is a reality that I'm kind of aware of. For the most part, collectors kind of ignored VFriends and just spent a lot of time making fun of it and questioning it. And so I don't know how many people were hurt, quote unquote. I don't know how many people got wrapped up. There were some sales. There were sales. There were box sales. There were case sales. There were card sales. But for the most part, but it's not about. So what I'm trying to say is it's not about how many people got hurt. It was about the attempt. It was about the fact that they attempted it, and it was so organized, and it was so, to me, felt evil. It was a very organized attempt at doing that. So that was my problem with it, not the fact that people were actively falling for it, because a lot of people hopped right onto it. I was proud of the hobby community catching on to that, right?
Yeah, I just from a conspiracy theory standpoint, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like an inside job, like with the shill bidding, like those at the top, or organized. I mean, this was Fanatics' first product, so unless it was the breakers themselves, I'm just trying to figure out like who was doing it. It was obviously
who was spending $8,000 for like Billy the Buffalo,
Yeah, who was the account with zero feedback that decided?
Yeah, who were they? And eBay wouldn't get rid of them, so
I spoke personally. I was in the DMs of a smaller account that was pumping the prices of the boxes. Sorry, not. I got to be careful here. I don't want to make accusations. They were simply they were simply saying, look at what the boxes are going for.
Oh, okay.
And then, funny enough, like a day later, I was getting in my inbox eBay, because I'd been searching. eBay was like, hey, have this box for 30% off. So I'm like, what? Okay, you're telling us the boxes are going for these big numbers, but I'm being offered them at a discount.
Yeah.
And so I got to his DMs and I'm like, are you really, like, what's going on here? And he's like, dude, I got in early. I was one of the lucky ones. And this was like a 400 or 500 follower account. Fairly minor account, although he has major hockey cards. And look, seems like a nice enough guy. He said he got in early and he made a lot of money. That's what he claims. And I have to take it at face value. What am I
And
going
they
to do?
were sold.
Drive over to meet him, and
sold items.
he showed me listings where he made money on sales of the boxes.
Really?
And he listen, what, like I said, what I can't go over there and tie him to a chair and smack him around and try to find out the truth. I have to take his word for it.
Yeah.
So that means someone was buying it.
Yeah.
And Andrew Goldberg doubled down as well. I remember his stories at the at VCon.
VCon,
where he had a large group of people around him bidding on Casey the Cockroach or whatever it was, and going into the hundreds of dollars. And his entire display, speaking of Curator and not getting the idea in Toronto, at VCon, your entire display is VFriends. And he said it was great. Andrew Goldberg said he was doing great. So maybe Rahul, if you're talking to Andrew sometime soon, you can corroborate and say, did you really do well with the VFriends cards? And let's see what he says.
You know? Yeah, I'll ask him next time regarding VFriends.
the...
But we did have a discussion about VFriends and all of that with Cage Lawyer. I don't know if you saw that interview.
Yeah.
I got to check it out. I myself sent Cage Lawyer the story with Backyard Breakers pumping the prices. His response was that he had not seen that and he was unaware.
Okay. Yeah. We had an interesting conversation about that. It was what, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago? I don't know. I'll send you the video, but it was quite interesting.
What was the comment after Mervyn?
Which one? Let's see. This one by Brendan. What does a non-hype promotion or marketing campaign look like?
I can kind of answer that, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, most products are going to have also, what's the definition of hype, quote unquote? So the one that I would use is anytime Tops drops a base set, or anytime Upper Deck drops a base set, that's a campaign. They're saying, look, our product is out there. This is the stuff you might be able to get, and it's out there. Go for it. And of course, we're going to go for it because we've been waiting, and we like to collect flagship products. And you don't necessarily need to pump and dump it or hype it. So that would be my first response in terms of a non-hype promotion. Or, I mean, look, doesn't that get into the conversation of what's a pump and dump? And like, if Rahul is saying, like, I see an opportunity with Gretzky, is he pumping, or is he just saying that's a cool opportunity that I agree with?
That's a long-term pump, unless I need to the money.
So we should be specific. You know, a pump and dump is immediate, right?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that it has a lot to do with whoever's talking about the subject, whoever's talking about, if it's a specific type of card or a box or whatever the case may be. Because, I mean, breakers do this shit all the time. And we talked about that too, about breakers pumping up products that realistically, probably won't sustain them. Like, they won't sustain their prices long term, right? Like, I mean, I've seen hoops go for astronomical prices, I've seen, much to what you just said, Flux is the next PMGs, was it? I was like,
yes, it was the next PMG.
So I think if someone collects that product, if someone is passionate about that product, I think you can tell it comes through, and it'll come through in their past content. It won't just be like, oh, buy this. Like if someone's telling you that, like, oh, this is a great opportunity, and like it has never talked about this ever. Like even VFriends, for instance, okay? Let's say someone had in their account, past their archives, you go through their content, they talked about, buying the NFT, and they purchased a VFriends NFT. They went to, I got a Gary V conference before, big believer in Gary V, big believer in his content, quotes their stuff. Like, you can tell who's passionate about something and who just got paid like $300 yesterday to make a video about something that they watched one slide about, and then there's like, yo, grab this, it's going to be sick, you know? So
Right.
I think it's just very important to understand, I mean, who you follow, number one, and but number two, where they're coming from. I think we need to get better at kind of establishing where people are coming from, and you can usually, if you follow the breadcrumbs, you should be able to get to the gingerbread house. All right.
Wow, a lot of yeast and bread conversation.
That's why I did it. That's why I did it.
Brendan Hyatt and all these Brendans too. What's going
Yeah,
on?
no kidding.
Rahul, me and Rahul with our unique names and all these Brendan brothers.
Yeah. I don't know how long you guys can stay, but maybe I was thinking like 10, 15 minutes. You guys good for that? Or you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, we talked about this. Oh yeah. Let's talk about the backyard bros. And so it seems that Josh Luber is like Fanatics has a good relationship with them right now. And a lot of the hobby, they don't like backyard bros, but then at the same time, they're still able to make money hands over fist. So what do you think about these guys? I mean, they got the Logo Man LeBron card. They
just
pulled
pulled another triple Logo Man 2 days ago.
With Steph Curry, right?
Yeah, with Steph Curry, Draymond, and Klay Thompson.
Yeah, so that's insane that they've been
I don't know
able
what
to
the
do
odds.
it.
I don't know what the odds of that happening.
Do they just buy so many boxes from them, or like they get the homie hookup right now?
I don't watch their feeds, so I don't know. Like what they're like, how much product. I know that they're massive on so many platforms. Like not just how most of us have our own platform that we're with one platform. And like imagine like timesing all of us combined by like 10 or 15, because that's what one of their platforms is, but then they're on like Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, right? So they literally have like an army of people. And we've seen that breaks are very enticing for a lot of the hobby. I mean, a good chunk of the hobby gets their cards mainly from breaks, right? So, and especially with the wax prices being where they are. So it's entirely possible that they just rip a shit ton of wax, more than some of the other industry leaders apparently, and that's how they're pulling this stuff.
Yeah. So how's this for diplomacy? Because I've done enough content on the backyard breakers. I find them to be. I was about to say I was going to be diplomatic, and I find them incredibly distasteful. That's just me, and that's why I don't do any business with them, and I don't pay too much attention to them. They are high volume. They are a big name. They're branded. These guys they got on it aggressively at a great time to do it. High volume means you will likely look. 401 Games here in Toronto is one of the highest purchasers of sealed product, and you always hear about big hits. Just off the top of my head, in the world of hockey, there was a Zegras High Gloss. That's an out of 10 card. That's a big deal in the hockey hobby. Constantly hearing about one of ones being. I've had some big hits there. Look, the higher the volume, the bigger the hits. I understand why people get a little conspiratorial after all these big hits, courtesy of backyard breakers. Is it backyard breakers?
Yeah, I think so.
But and you know what? And again, if suddenly we were treated to some insider information that this was being done deliberately, I wouldn't be shocked, because why wouldn't you do that? Panini wants all these big hits to be displayed, on that kind of a large format. Like Brendan said, they're all over the place. They got a huge following. It makes sense.
Huge. Everybody
benefits. They continue to benefit by getting these hits because, like someone mentioned in a conversation series, if you truly believe that there's this thing where they're getting all the big hits, why don't you buy into their breaks then, and then you can benefit from it? Because ultimately they're pulling these cards for people, right? I don't know, man. I mean, that in itself can be corrupted as well. We saw them manipulating a deck of cards Like whatever happened to just simply using that random.org program or something like that? So it's all sketchy. But someone just mentioned down there that it is a necessary evil. Someone here is questioning whether or not boxes can be marked. I will tell you, I've had conversations with retailers along the lines of being able to identify what is in a case, what the case hit is. I will remind people of Full Wax opening up on camera a sealed case of Prism Retail with a box missing. Wait, it wasn't Prism Retail, it was Prism Hobby with a missing box. Do we remember that? Do we recall that incident? I have screenshots. There's video on YouTube. So it exists. I made the mistake on our podcast, Cardboard Coaches, of not using the correct language. I made it sound like I said they're all sifting through their cases. That's not the truth.
No.
I don't know that for a fact. I didn't mean to generalize. But does it happen? Big time. Of course it does. Of course it does.
It's kind of funky what's happening right now because new products keep being released, right? Like most recently, it's Prism Football. 2021 just came out, and seemingly every big hit that like was in this product has basically been pulled right now. Like all the one of ones, the Black Finites are pretty much all off the board, and like it's only been out for 2 weeks. So is that a result of just like so much hype in the market? And yet the box prices are actually like lower. You know what I mean? So I don't understand how all these big hits. I mean, hits used to last sometimes years before they surfaced. The Josh Allen optic 1 of 1 out of 2018 was just pulled a few days ago, right? Out of 2018 product. So we're talking about like 4 years before that thing surfaced. But now somehow with these products, the new products, the biggest hits get pulled on opening day, on opening weekend. Give it 2 weeks, and all of a sudden the one of ones have all surfaced. And I don't know if that's just like manic ripping in general by everybody, or are they front loaded?
Is that Panini front loading perhaps to kind of like they know in a few years they're out of the game with some of these sports, so let's just get that out there and get buying frenzies going for each successive release. Look what happened with Prism Football, all those amazing one of ones they sold for hundreds of $1,000s. Now here comes Optic, here comes Contenders, here comes
Obsidian, like they just keep hammering them out.
Sure. Yeah, it's this loop because you want people chasing to keep the product value, but then if everything is obtained, product value is going to come down. Breakers still benefit. There's just getting people pouring in, man. Like it's like Co mentioned, man. Like holy cow, I've never seen so many. You see these people's accounts; they're not really like collectors. It's more gambling. It's more like a community mindset where they just want to get in on these breaks. These are people with expendable cash. I hope some of them are probably digging graves for themselves doing breaks, but it's a huge community. Every day as we speak, gentlemen, there's you get on your Instagram, there's a million lives, they're all doing breaks, right?
Every day, all day, bro. Like all day. Like I mean,
I heard about the guy. I heard the guy who breaks till 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably several. There are probably several. I think I think Leighton has a 24-hour stream. I think I could be wrong. Maybe on a weekend or something. I could be wrong.
It's like 7-Eleven, man. It's
bananas, It's like and there's demand clearly. I mean, otherwise someone wouldn't be doing it, So how much of that is just everyone constantly wanting to get their fix, and then how much of that is the card companies saying, let's get this shit hyped up and let's pump these things up and on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. Because once a one of one is pulled, I mean, that set, realistically speaking, becomes a little bit less desirable, but the next set is going to have an enticing one of one. And if you keep them close enough, you just get people to ride the wave.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Okay, that's quite interesting. I mean, we're in a down market, for those that are speculators. For collectors,
Yeah,
or if you're trying to collect it, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it actually helps when prices are coming down.
for sure, 100%.
So, maybe we could leave it off on this. So, what are you two doing during this, you could say, downturn in sports cards? I find it as an opportunity. I'm trying to trade up on some cards. Like I told you earlier, I'm finding some deals on some Gretzky Opeaches. I just won one, and no one's bidding on it right now. It's ridiculous. So I won paid $23. I haven't paid for it yet. $23 for a PSA 7, 1984 card. If I go to PSA, send a raw card, I get a 7, I have to pay what? I don't know what the grading is right now. Is it back to
Minimum $30, and that's
$30
value.
with shipping, right?
And no, but that's also value submission, and you're not expected to get it back for like 6 to 9 months, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask both of you, what are you doing during this downturn? I'll start with you, Cartel.
So again, it really depends on your sector, man, because hockey, especially modern hockey, is not suffering from some of these same ills. You have to put it all into perspective. Baseball, I feel, wasn't operating on a high level, or the level it should have been to begin with, before the downturn. So there's huge opportunities there. MMA is, because it's so new, but has such a passionate fan base, I feel is also kind of impervious to this. And it's all just based on performance in the sport, which is the way it should be, right? Like that's the way it should be. If you want to go beyond collecting and into investing and that sort of thing, you got to know these sports. You got to have the knowledge, right? And you can utilize that and then watch the performance of the players involved, and it's gonna be fruitful. So yeah, I am taking advantage, looking at big opportunities in vintage hockey, modern baseball, and in MMA in general. We're talking about something that's been around since 2009. And if anyone ever wants to question if the cartel's pumping MMA, my first purchase of UFC MMA was the Topps products in 2009. It's been a long time. It's been many, many years now. And actually, I sold very early on the first wave. I lost out big time on McGregor autographs, Habib autographs, because I sold too early on the first wave. But the main thing is I'm just continuing to enjoy. I'm trying to utilize the platforms intelligently. eBay auctions are all over the place these days. So you do buy it now, best offer, and you offer really good merchandise that people want. Great Curator. You offer things that people are interested in, that it has a history, that has an intrinsic value. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a different world when you're not dealing with 5-figure PMVs. But I'm just enjoying the hobby, and it's no like big master game plan. I'm just if I see a deal, I'm going for it, and I am selling. Yes, Maximus, I am pumping that MMA. I'll admit it, man.
I think he was talking to Mervin, but
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
in the
I love
comment
this.
section.
I love this. I love the sport. I love the cards. Carmen Electric cards, absolutely.
Kim Kardashian cards are on. Ever since her diet, she's been trending.
Why have we been sleeping on these people? My God, what about Justin Bieber? You got to support him through his health issues. Anyway, yeah, that's my spiel. Is I'm enjoying the views from the sectors that I'm in. I don't feel the sky is falling. That's just me.
What about you, Coach Co?
Well, I'm actually super excited. I see a lot of cards that are down, that I've been looking at or looking for, to some extent. I'm also seeing that like PSA 9s on a lot of cards are actually cheaper than raw, which I am taking full advantage of. It makes no sense to me. I mean, the assumption that people think that raw cards are going to grade a 10 or could grade a 10, we gotta start tapering that down, please. But that's okay. I mean, you guys keep doing what you're doing, and I'll do what I'm doing. So, I mean, I find like 9 specifically to be and especially like depending on what you're buying. Like I'm not buying everyday nines, but there are Future Watch Auto nines that are going for less than raw. So in terms of hockey, I'm in a unique situation with soccer where, this is actually where things start to pick up, reasonably speaking. We had like the end of a lot of seasons, but transfer news. So it's like almost like football off season, for like NFL or like basketball, like when free agents start signing and you'll see bumps. So I've already started to see bumps in certain cards, which I find super intriguing, especially leading up to the World Cup. I've actually had a lot of people ask me in the last, I'd say, month or so, like just telling me that they're buying soccer, and I'm like, oh, who are you buying? They're like, I'm just buying soccer. So it's I find that there are soccer cards that are down, but as a whole, I'm like actually being outbid on things, which I find not the same in a lot of other markets. So I don't know if there's just like an increase in people dabbling in soccer, but it's definitely not as nice as I would like it to be. So, but I'm buying a shit ton of PSA 9s and a lot of PC stuff. I'm buying a lot of PC stuff, things that I'm fortunate to find on sale that I probably haven't seen on sale either ever or at a price at these prices. So
Yeah, I'll just leave it on this. I mean, there a lot of cards are going down to pre-pandemic levels, and I just find it's just screaming buy for some of them.
yeah,
If I get the cash.
yeah.
Well, but before I leave this podcast, so where can we find you guys again? Cartel. We'll start off with you.
So I am the Sports Card Cartel on Instagram. That's pretty much my only social media hangout. I am also. I'll let Coach Co, since that's the name of the channel, I'll let him handle directing people to our podcast. Sportscardcartel.com is in the works as well, and I hope that will be a home to both sales and opinion, because the cartel is all about biting. I can't even remember my tagline. It was given to me by someone, but it was biting cynicism that is 100% accurate, and that's what I want to bring to people, alongside the ability to purchase some very nice hockey and MMA cards. Hopefully that'll be up and running soon.
Love it.
All right, Coach Co, where do we find you?
You can find me on TikTok at Coach Co Collectibles. It's probably my main one. You can find me on Instagram at Coach Co Collectibles for sports cards. If you're interested in fitness, I also have my Coach Co page. I also have YouTube. You can check out our Cardboard Coaches podcast, either by searching up Coach Co or just searching up Cardboard Coaches on either YouTube or Spotify. And I hope to have you guys enjoy some pretty off the beaten path opinions.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, let's do this another time. It was fun.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.